Hi, I'm Will Carosella, and I'm the Classroom and Computer Lab Technologies Coordinator for the College of Health Professions. My colleagues in the Department of Academic and Student Technologies work in OTS, where we design, support, and equip the classrooms with the technology that you use every day. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how you can use this technology to simultaneously cater to an audience that's remote and an audience that's in your classroom while you're delivering your lesson. I know that there's a lot of anxiety regarding the new teaching format for autumn of 2020, but try not to worry. In many cases, you're not going to need to fundamentally change very much at all. In most cases, in fact, familiarizing yourself with what the technology in the classroom can do will allow you to cater to both of your audiences. You should know that every classroom on campus does have the ability to record or stream synchronous or asynchronous content when you're delivering your lesson. In some classrooms, such as this one, there will be a wall-mounted camera equipped in the room that hooks up to the AV system. In other cases, you'll have a computer monitor with a built-in webcam that you can use to capture as an alternative. Even if your classroom doesn't have any cameras at all, you will still be able to capture any content that appears on the computer screen, as well as any audio that's captured through a microphone that's plugged in. As always, we strongly encourage that you check the virtual tour online to see what equipment is actually in the room before you visit it for the first lesson. In addition, we will have plug-and-play equipment available for rooms that have absolutely no equipment, such as conference rooms or smaller spaces. If you are in a room equipped with a wall-mounted camera and an AV system, then you can control those components using the touch panel on the podium. There are two primary elements that you want to make sure are activated and adjusted before you start your lesson. First, you start with the microphones. The microphones page is located in the upper right. Using this page, you're able to activate or deactivate the microphones labeled here as use or don't use. Currently, I have both the ceiling microphones and the wireless microphone active so that I can capture the audio from the audience as well as myself. If I didn't want to have either of these active, I would hit the don't use button. The next component that you want to make sure is set up is the video camera itself. You can control the camera. Using this page, you have the ability to zoom in or zoom out, as well as adjust the camera horizontally or vertically using the directional pad buttons. You can use these tools to set up the frame of your class and to determine what you would like to focus on for your students who are viewing at home. If you do have a wireless microphone, check with the department to make sure that you know where it is. In some cases, such as this room, it's available inside a drawer in the podium. In other cases, they are managed and distributed by the department themselves, so make sure that you check with them. When setting up your video camera, it's very useful to use the streaming platform to check the frame of the shot itself. Here, I'm using Panopto, where I can adjust the camera and see myself on the screen. So depending on the type of shot that I want, I can use the camera controls and check how it looks before I even start recording and sending the video to my remote audience. Once you've set your camera how you want it to for your lesson, make sure that you've checked all the other settings on the system that you're using to stream or record. If you are recording, make sure that you do hit the record button before you begin your lesson, otherwise that content will not be recorded. Resources are available that go into greater depth on how to use these platforms, such as Panopto, WebEx, and Blackboard Collaborate. There are a couple of different ways that you can frame your shot using the in-room camera that can facilitate your lesson depending on what you're trying to do. In this instance, I'm using a wide shot here with the camera positioned so that it will capture my movement in front of the podium as well as a projected screen. As you can see, my motion is captured on the camera, as of any gestures that I'm making, as well as any potential students who are in the front rows of the room. This will make it easier for your remote audience to feel more like they're in the room. Another option that you have, if you are an instructor who likes to use the Blackboard or the whiteboard, is to zoom your camera in to the whiteboard or Blackboard and use the manual controls here, which I will show on camera, to manually raise the screen itself. As you can see, the projected screen is still showing up on the board. So in order to enable the whiteboard for use, I'll have to use the no-show function on the control panel. That blanks out the screen and frees up the whiteboard for my use if I need to write equations or a complicated diagram. One final alternative is to use the projected screen and switch to a different source rather than the computer as is being displayed now. Just about every classroom on campus has a document camera equipped. which are oftentimes hidden in a drawer or on a shelf somewhere. These cameras are collapsible and require minimal setup in order to be used. To activate them, you go to the source page on the touch panel and select Document Camera as the source. They take a moment to boot up, but then you have a streaming video of any models, documents, or other materials that you can also use separate controls to illuminate with the lamp or zoom in and out of for demonstration. So here, I'm actually using 2 cameras in the room to help facilitate my teaching for the remote students at home. It's important to remember that any content that isn't going through the computer at the podium will not necessarily be streamed. Just like with the document camera, you're going to want to use the in-room camera to position it towards a display that is displaying that content. This can be accomplished using the auxiliary HDMI cable that is available at most podiums. I'm going to equip my mobile device here by plugging it in, and then on the source selection page, selecting the auxiliary HDMI source, which then brings it up on the projector, and then framing my camera to most effectively display this external source to my students at home. In some instances, if you do want to use the document camera, but you don't like how it looks projected on the screen, there may be special software available on the computer where you can pull up the document camera's feed on the machine here. Check with your department to see if that capability is possible. Now that we've covered some of the basics of the technology in the classroom, it's important to go over some basics on how to manage your classroom with a remote and in-person audience. First and foremost, be kind to yourself and make sure that your expectations are appropriate, both for yourself and for your students. It's helpful to make sure that everybody's on the same page and we all know that we're going through this together. Secondly, when you do have an in-classroom question, it's very useful to repeat the question yourself so that your remote audience can hear it. If you're using the wireless microphone, that's a really effective way to make sure that they are getting the exact same experience as the students in the classroom. As far as catering to your remote students, it's important to remember to remind yourself to check in with them visually and potentially verbally to make sure that they are also keeping track with you. There are multiple ways to do this, either by voicing a question or by looking at the streaming service that you're using, such as Blackboard Collaborate, which has a raise hand feature that provides an on-screen pop-up, or WebEx, where you can just check in on how your students are doing through their camera feed. Lastly, there are a couple of other technological tools that you can use to your advantage. There are chat features. There is a polling tool built into WebEx. And there's also, Panopto also provides commenting and viewing statistics that you can use to check on the engagement of your lesson over the course of the semester. Now, I know that's a lot of information to try and take in, and it wasn't an entirely in-depth presentation here, but there are other resources available. If you contact us, we're happy to share with you. There are a couple of different ways to get in touch with our group. One of the best ways is using the Tech Help system or calling us directly at 410-704-8324, where you can reach me or my colleagues directly. There's also in-room live chat feature that is installed on every computer that you can use as well if you don't feel comfortable calling us on the phone.